So we're gonna let it burn, burn, burn. Hey guys, Soulless Reviews here, and today I want to talk about Ellie Goulding's new project, Delirium. So I don't know if this is just me, but a lot of hipster people seem to like Ellie Goulding, and I don't know why. A lot of mainstream listeners do like her, especially because of her heavy radio play, at least where I'm at, yes, but there seems to be some people, some kind of hipster people that I've had the pleasure of being with in a car, and they've played Ellie Goulding, and I'm like, wait, you actually like this? This is kind of mainstream. And they're like, I like that she's being so techno yet so vocally honest. I'm like, oh, alright, if that's how you feel. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't mind Ellie Goulding, I think she's alright, I'm just not too fond of on her albums. There's some points when I can't find myself enjoying all that much when she has a decent vocal voice, but seems to smother that in some kind of electronics, whether instrumentally or actually additioning it, working it into her voice. I feel like she can actually carry an album better, possibly, if she tries to go more purely vocals, and she has expressed times when she's done that, and I feel like applause to her for actually realizing that that's one of her strengths. But overall, I don't know, I'm impartial to her. I think she's a decent artist, I don't hate her, but I don't love her. Her career has been taking steps, first with Lights, and then Burn, and then Love Me Like You Do off of the 50 Shades of Grey soundtrack. And not just those singles, but they also have albums in the past. She actually has 2 previous albums before this one. And if there's one thing I can give her credit for, it definitely seems like she's following the pattern of most artists in that she's showing maturity. Between her first and second album, she's shown some maturity. Like, there's actually some better, more quality-sounding music. It's not just trying to appeal to a more mainstream crowd. She's actually trying to sound a little more caring about what she's doing to make it her personal music. So I'm not necessarily excited to hear how this album sounds, but I'm definitely willing to give it a shot because, hey, she could actually pull through with some great music here, and I'm willing to give it a shot even though this thing is a sizable amount of tracks long, like holy shit. 16 regularly, but deluxe 22? Ugh, oh geez. But let's cut the bullshit, ladies and gentlemen. Without further ado, I am going to listen to Delirium by Ellie Goulding, her newest project, and then afterwards I am going to tell you guys just how I feel about it. Alright, so this album isn't bad, but I just don't find myself enjoying this album all that much. And I think the big problem this album has is some songs act like they really don't give a shit, while other songs actually sound like they're caring about what they're talking about. And needless to say, all these songs relate back to a guy. Like, almost every single one of these songs are relationship songs, but I'm not really holding that against her because it's not necessarily in someone's defect if they make one album have, like, the same concept all the way through. It would be nice if it differentiated what she was talking about because, like I said, almost every single one of these songs are some kind of relationship drama. But I don't automatically brand this project as bad because of that factor, because there are albums that have done that in the past and pulled it off well. While I don't think this album does it all that great, I feel like it's not the worst to do it. I just don't particularly like the fact that it carried it out all the way through, but I'm not going to hold it against it all that much. For instance, a high point for me on this album was actually On My Mind, and that was a lead single for this project, but I actually never got around to listening to it. But I heard it on this album, and I actually really enjoyed it, because I especially liked the theme of that song. Not only were there some nice guitar strings, like electric guitar strings, but there was also a nice pounding beat to it. But alongside that, she also was talking about if she stops caring about a guy, if she doesn't feel the love for the guy in her heart, then why is the guy still on her mind? If her heart isn't thinking about him, then why is her brain thinking about the guy? And she was talking about this internal confliction about whether she likes or doesn't like this guy with the 2 primary functions of the body. And I was really enjoying that. I was like, oh, this is really conflicting for her. It sounds like she's really caring about whether she likes or doesn't like this guy, and it's like a struggle for her. I liked hearing about it, and it didn't sound sonically all that bad either. It was actually a high point for this album because the album didn't start out all that great, but I really enjoyed that song. It was one of my favorites on here. But again, going back to those songs where I felt like didn't give a shit, immediately after On My Mind we have Around You, where you could essentially look at the title and right off the bat already get what it's talking about. It doesn't, like On My Mind, you can already guess she's talking about a guy being on her mind, but she goes into a little further detail as to why, the confliction that occurs. Whereas Around You, she is basically saying she wants to be around the guy. She feels safer, she feels more pleased when she's around this guy. Okay, I mean, there was absolutely no need to have that track, and alongside that, the track sounded like it should have been in the background of a Barbie commercial. It really just sounded to me like she wasn't putting the effort forth to make that song all that great, and she had some kind of idea, but I feel like she could have combined that with some of the other songs like that, which are kind of weak, to create a better sounding track, one that's more developed, not one that's just completely shallow talking about wanting to be in a guy's arms. And I think Around You is the only track that I truly hated. There are other songs I didn't feel like were all that great and I don't really care to come back to, but they weren't as bad as Around You. For instance, Keep On Dancin'. Now, what bothered me about this topic is it's a topic that we've heard not even that, like, far away either. We've heard it very recently with Selena Gomez's Me and the Rhythm. It's almost a direct song relating back to that, where Goulding is talking about how she can dismiss all of her life problems simply by getting caught up in the music. She doesn't have to worry about any relationship struggles as long as the music is there to sweep her off her feet. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of cool and creative, and I feel like she took a better approach to it, not relating it directly to a guy like Selena did. It's still kind of like a Selena-esque song, and also can relate back to that Britney Spears track, I think, Till the World Ends. I don't remember the exact title of the track, but it went something along the lines of that. And to go hand in hand with these somewhat dull topics, she doesn't really go all that way in her production either. Like I said, a very maddening thing that does appear on this project is the fact that Goulding doesn't let her voice shine. She's letting most of the beats, the club bangers, mask her vocals. It's like a compromise in the track. You're going to hear like 75% of the production and like 25% of her vocals. It's like I would prefer to hear more of her vocals, more solid instrumentals than I would to hear this techno-based club banging music. And I get it. That's what got Ellie Goulding famous. Like, that's why people love her, is because she's made songs that are kind of like, it's her vocals, but yet there's a lot of good beat selections, and there's this nice techno twist to them. That's why people mostly like Goulding. But like, if that was the case, if you felt like that's all people wanted to hear on this project, and you were going to completely go that route where you're compromising most of your songs to have that production that piqued the people's interest in the first place, then why even have songs like Army? In my opinion, I actually really, really liked Army. Because, as you could guess, Ellie Goulding is focusing more on her vocals and more on the instrumentals of the track than she is trying to have a nice techno twist to the song. Yes, the theme of the song is a little cliche when she's talking about her being with this guy, and them technically when they're together having like an army. They're so powerful when they're together that they feel like a giant army. That's a little cliche, but I was willing to say fuck it. I don't care how cliche it was because it sounded good. Ellie Goulding was using her vocals to back up some great guitar strings, and I actually enjoyed the track, as where the other tracks, I was trying to battle my way through them. I was like, okay, this is listenable, this is decent, but I had no reason to come back to those other songs where she was keeping the themes light and keeping the songs very techno and very like songs that just carry a beat and compromise her vocals. And on Lost and Found too, I mean, it wasn't exactly, it definitely had a beat in the background to it, but it didn't let the beat outshine itself all that much. It definitely had like this kind of country vibe to it, and it kept it simple with Ellie Goulding singing and not letting much of electronics cover or mask what she was actually trying to do creatively. So it's not necessarily that I have a problem when Ellie Goulding is doing the more techno music and trying to have those beats in her music. I really don't have a problem with that. It's just the fact that some of these topics just kind of seem to be just there. They're just topics that she's just trying to do to add length to this album and make people enjoy it because it has this techno production. It's like she found the production, she found the producers, and then she just made this easy topic to talk about and threw it over the production. The production seemed to be her main focus, while as not all that great, it definitely seemed to be the main ear catcher, whereas the lyrics were just supposed to be there. I personally enjoy when Ellie Goulding is expressing her vocals with instrumentals, not production, not like electronic keyboards, not basses, not all that jazz. I'm talking like guitar strings, piano chords. I like when she's mixing her voice with actual instrumentals, and I think she sounds damn good. Which is why I enjoyed Army so much, because towards the end of the album, I was getting a little weary of hearing kind of the same thing over and over again. But then when she threw that in my direction, I was like, Goulding, whoa, what the fuck? Why didn't you give us like some? I mean, I'd be fine with a little mixture of the two, a little electronic music, then switch it up. But you waited like a whole, like 14, 15 tracks to give me that? Like, Jesus. So, like I said, guys, I'm not ripping on Ellie Goulding for using the electronic production. If she had some, like, interesting themes, which she does, like, On My Mind, and I didn't mind Don't Panic either, but if she chooses to focus more on what the song's about rather than if a teen is going to flip on this song because it has a nice beat and they're all going to jam out in their car to it, then I feel like she could actually come through with some even better music than what we're presented with here. Overall, this album wasn't bad. It was far from bad. It was enjoyable, but there were still some points in this project where I felt were duller than others, and I found myself skipping through it a lot. It definitely did not need to be 16 tracks, and that is not the deluxe version. That is just regular. It could have been easily 12, stretch it for maybe 15, but 16, I mean, what's one of a difference? But probably like 12 or 13. I didn't feel like it needed to be this long. Definitely some tracks I could easily pick out of this thing, and it was okay. I would say check it out if you're an Ellie Goulding fan, because this is probably the Ellie Goulding that you like her for. But if you just listen to pop, then I would say, I mean, maybe some of the tracks like On My Mind and Army are actually worth listening to, but the album as a whole maybe is a one-time thing. You might want to listen to it, but eventually you're going to get the feel that a lot of these songs are starting to sound like each other, like the beat selection and the themes for each song seem to be following the same simplistic format as the next. So decent album, check it out if you're a Goulding fan. Just a regular pop fan, I'd say maybe worth listening just maybe once. And that is all I got for you guys. If you would like to like or subscribe, that'd be awesome. I really appreciate it, and till next time, Soulless Reviews.